name's back.
Hello, ladies and gents. It is a hot summer, and remember, same rules apply as in the extreme cold. Check on your neighbors, especially the elderly, those with heart conditions and breathing conditions, because, well, hot weather is not your friend. Who's up on the docket today with myself? Oh, you guessed it. It's my Uncle Tim, and he comes to hang out with me as we sit down and talk about removing struggles. You know, isn't there power in a struggle? And what happens when someone removes the ability to go through that struggle? Well, we're going to look into that today. Do you have a topic or a situation that you would like more clarity on, or to hear maybe a different perspective? Well, hit Tim and I up. Email and all of that good information is in the links below in the description. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe and click that bell so you don't miss any new content, because who knows when it's going to drop. But clicking that bell ensures that you don't miss it when it does. So sit back and relax, because Tim and I have got a lot to talk about today. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep. I'll get a little more volume.
So what's going on?
So, self-esteem is really hard. It's really difficult. The first thing, though, is understand that everybody goes through it at some times where their self-esteem is low. They may not show it because you don't know them that well, but it's going on. It happens to everybody. And it starts in childhood with, people meaning very well, but they actually start shaming you. Mostly family, like at family gatherings, the more people that gather, the more somebody is always there's always that one or two people that are going to tweak you and get on your back because they think they can get away with it because they're in front of the whole family.
They have an audience, but build.
So you learn your coping skills then. Oh yeah. But they like to test it. Like, I got one that she used to test me every time I would come home. And it would always be in front of her mother and my grandmother. And once I got to like 30, I would just be like, give you a perfect example. So we come home, we were all having family Easter together. 3 families, grandmother, 2 friends. They stayed, we're too old to cook. We all have Easter together. So come up from North Carolina with somebody and say my hellos, start helping, doing stuff like always. And then I hear this question in the back, like, oh, is that your car or is that Tim's car? And I turn around, I'm like, well, is your shit or is it you and your husband's shit? And why is that your business? And then it's like, oh my God. I'm like, well, first of all, mind your business. Like, what did I just say to you? Why would you ask someone that you don't know, that you just met, something about our household that has nothing to do with you? Don't you go to work? Well, you were just being whatever that is.
Well, you know what they say, they'll always talk about your reaction, but not what caused it.
Well, that's why, but they also then learn to talk about you behind your back and not when you're there.
Fact, because they don't
Yeah,
understand.
But you have to have those boundaries, and I used to be like, do I go around but I always used to check myself, do I go around asking people their personal business? And no, you don't. And the funny thing is, when I was a kid, when I look at pictures when I was a kid, I thought I was like this really fat kid. And I never was. I just wasn't toned. I would gain weight in the winter, and I would swim all summer. I was never a fat kid. I was kind of maybe a little bit chubby, but I was never a fat kid. But in my mind, I felt like I was like a 300-pound kid.
Aww.
And we would go through things, though. I actually remember, thank God for my grandfather. He's so funny. Because there were times when, because they grew up during the Depression and everything was hard, where I would get this whole plate of food fixed for me and sat in front of me. And it'd be like, and tell him to finish his plate because he ate what he wanted. And if the rest is there, you got to let it be. You can't have it both ways. And I was like, yeah, that does make sense, because if I'm fat, who's feeding me? You don't want to bring me this big garbage plate of food every day. So, but you learn your coping mechanisms when you're young for that. And if you don't learn proper defense mechanism, you carry the way you behave in your family to everyone else.
Well, now let me stop you so we can back up, so we keep everybody together. We're talking about removing struggles today, okay, peeps? And it starts at home. You learn it when you're a child. You learn these coping skills, you learn these coping mechanisms. But if people remove the struggles that you're supposed to go through that help you learn and build these skills, what service and justice did it do you? None. So that's where we're at today. We're talking about removing struggles, and is it a good thing, bad thing, or do you feel indifferent to it? Well, I say it's a bad thing. Tim, I feel that you should guide people through their struggles. You don't remove it for them.
Well, if you're lucky enough to have people in your life, and you like parenting at home, that have lived enough to say, well, okay, that I don't need to jump into. I want to know what's going on with you. But every time your kids tell you something, you're not like, oh, okay, I'll meet you at the bus, because your kids shut down. They stop telling you things. Because they learn that if they tell you certain things, it creates more of a problem than the problem they're having. And they don't share with you, and you don't know what's going on, but you know something's going on with you. There were a lot of things, like if something happened with Mario at school with another kid, I wouldn't blame either one. I'd ask him what was going on. And then I'd ask him, well, what do you think about it? What would make you feel good to change in the situation? And I let him think about it and tell me. And I'd be like, do I need to go to the school? Or do you want me to make a phone call? And sometimes he would be like, yep. And sometimes he'd be like, no. And that worked best. But I also told him when it came to those things, there's a level to things. There's kid stuff that we can talk about and you go handle it. And then there's real stuff that if any of these things go on at school, like if somebody at school calls the police on you, if somebody really gets hurt and they take you to the office as part of it, you don't say anything. You tell them to call me and you don't talk till I get there, because that's a parent level thing.
Exactly. It's time to really decipher what's going on.
Stuff, I'll let you work through it. Yeah, I'll let you work through it as long as you feel where it's going is okay. But we've all known people whose parents jump in and just handle everything, including lie for them. See, nobody almost go lie for me.
See, no one ever lied for me either. Like, I had to own my shit.
And then when you're the only kid in the house, there's nobody you can say that did it. And then like,
it was Casper.
Oh, Casper knocked that shit over. No, okay. I wasn't even in there. That does not fly as an only child. You learn to be ahead of the question. You learn to get out in front. You be like, okay, I know when I get home, I'm going to be asked, what did I learn today? And I have to have something new that I learned today that I can explain before anything else goes. I'm going to get hit with that as soon as I get in the door. So what do I need to do? I need to know something I learned today. I'm going to be ready for this question, because that's going to ruin my whole afternoon if I don't.
Because that means you did not pay attention in school.
Yeah, and you know you're going to get hit. But then there's some people that know they're going to get hit with the question, and they will think every day that they can fake their way out of it. And to me, that's my definition of stupid.
Oh, you just hit such a big nail on the head. People who keep doing that same dumb shit thinking they're going to get a different result.
If the mom was like, what did you learn today? Oh, I don't know. Oh, it's right here. Let me go put my backpack down and I'll read it to you. Read it to you.
No. Let's talk about it. Let's have a real conversation about it.
Because if you can't explain it, you didn't learn. It's just that simple.
Boom.
But I know, and I think the worst thing, and I've seen it, is when you know you were wrong and you have no consequences. Like your parents will go to the school and completely blow people off to get you out of stuff that they know you did. Because eventually that's going to catch up with you. Eventually, because you've done that and you think you can get away with stuff, you're going to put yourself in this situation that all of a sudden you look around and no, this is on you. And it's going to cost you. And it usually costs you quite a bit.
It does. And I grew up with a girl who was like that. Her mother actually could be quoted as saying, "My child is an angel," and always would rush right into her aid and rescue. And there's no way she did this. And she attended a private school at the time. Okay? Grace Christian. So it was a Pentecostal school. And the week she did this, like on Sunday night, she pulled some shit at church and I hemmed her ass up. And I was justified in doing it. Like, it was the last straw. And what she did was she called herself trying to be funny, and she pushed me. And when she did, her hand got wrapped in my necklace. So it was a necklace that Gran had given me. It broke. Well, it was just reaction. I came up and I had her by the throat up in the youth group room against the wall. And the youth pastor, which was the head pastor, said, he was like, "Erica, I'm going to need you to let her go." And it might have took a minute for me to come down. But we all end up in the pastor's office, and her mom's like, "There's no way that she would have done what you said she did," and blah, 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 blah. And, I looked at him finally, and I said, "You know what? I'm not going to sit here and argue with you." I said, "You know why?" I said, "Because your daughter's the fucking devil." I was like, and it's all going to come to light. It was 2 days later. We're at church on a Wednesday night, and she like up her mom's butt. Like, I noticed everywhere mom went, there she was. Well, come to find out, earlier that day, she threw a lit match at a teacher and said, "Burn, bitch, burn." Like, she lit a book of matches and threw them at her. And at the time, like I said, she went to a private school, which was old style. So they had remember them old wooden 4-legged desks that the teachers had with the big wood. That's what the teacher was sitting at. So you lit a book of matches that they be oiling down every other day and threw it and said, "Burn, bitch, burn." But your child is an angel. She got evicted from school. Needless to say, she actually got put out of all private schools. Done. No, she was done. She got put. Every private school in the Huntington area got a memo about her, including the Catholic ones. She was not welcome. So, but your child was an angel. See, that is not good to keep stepping in, especially when you aren't present, when your children be doing a lot of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Sit back and observe. Because your child is not an angel. They human, just like you.
I never went to the school. The principal told me when Mario was in like 4th grade, I started going when I had problems with his teacher. She said, and she was from Rochester, so we would talk about being from Rochester. And she loved Mario. She said, "No, I know he's a big kid." But I would never go to school and say, "He didn't do that." I would ask what was going on. And she'd be like, "Yeah, let's get to the bottom of this." So, she'd tell me what she knew. I would talk to him. She talked to the other kids. We would get to the bottom of what actually was going on. And then I can say, this is why you got that reaction, because he didn't feel safe. The 2 boys had been shoving on him, and they'd been picking at him all week. So he went to the bathroom, and the 2 of them, one of them snatched his backpack. And so he kicked the one in the stomach and took the backpack and hit the other one in the face to get out of the bathroom. And I told him, sometimes if people are, you have to do what you have to do to make yourself safe. Right. So
he didn't feel safe, obviously.
And it had been a thing where it escalated. So when he finally popped, it just all popped. He was like, "Okay, I can't even go pee."
I get that.
So
I get that.
But he didn't say a word. He clammed up until I got there. So the teacher's like, he was, and I said, "So what happened?" And he told me, and he had already kind of told me about it before, where they'd tried it before, and he ran out of the bathroom. I was like, "Don't be running from anybody." I said, "Before you go into the bathroom, you tell whatever teacher's in the hallway, I'm going into the bathroom, but people have been picking on me." So when he came out of the bathroom, he ran right into a teacher, and she knew what was going on, but the other thing, he tried to beat us up. He hit me in the face with a backpack. Okay. And she's like, "Well, why would he do that?"
But see, I love adults that ask a full question.
No. Yeah. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. But then it's a child, so we can talk about what's a better reaction and, how I feel about it. But I used to tell him all the time, tell me the truth. Because nobody else can fight for you.
Exactly.
The teachers are teachers. They like you. But when it comes to the school versus you, they're not your friend. When stuff happens, I need to know exactly what happened. And if you were wrong, tell me you're wrong. I won't get mad. You're going to have to pay for whatever you did. but I'm not going to be angry with you. We're going to find a way so this doesn't happen again. And he was pretty good about that.
Yeah, but it's called they learn. But if you
Mm-hmm.
can't, if you don't have a safe space to be wrong, then you're never going to learn how to be right in your wrongness. Does that make sense? You're never going to learn how to express, okay, so I screwed up and here's what happened.
And also, well, and I remember, when I was in 4th grade, the teacher she didn't like several of us. She really didn't like black kids at all. It was really funny to an extent because she didn't realize that one of the kids that she was trying to make a pet, I was doing homework with her in the evening sometime, her mother at her house down the street. So I could see the extra work that she was giving them and the stuff. And she had the nerve to tell me one time to ask her in June, which I went home and said it, which I didn't realize what it meant. And my grandmother was like, okay, so June school is out. So she said, are you sure that's what she said? Yes, that's what she said. I went up to the desk and she was, yes.
Oh
so that started the whole thing. Yeah, but she retired the next year. I'm not even going through the whole story, but she retired the next year. But in the interim, I went to Catholic school one day.
Oh,
just
God.
one day.
How'd that go?
So, we went and bought the uniform and all this. My grandma was like, well, you just, you'll go to school here. And I was like, I know kids that go there, but I don't. First of all, we're not Catholic. Whatever. So I get there. I get at my little desk. And we open our books or whatever. And, I'm a good reader, so I read ahead. And from behind me, I get hit on the hand. And I just swung back. So this nun hit me on my hand with a ruler for going ahead. First day of school. And reflex was, I didn't know who hit me, but I reached back and punched her in the leg. So first day of school, I go back to the office. They call my grandparents. Granddaddy goes to get me. There's like all these steps going up from the school to where the car was parked. And he didn't really say, he said, what happened? I told him what happened. And he was like, why are y'all hitting on people? He's not even acclimated to what you all do. He doesn't even know. Why are y'all, what is, okay. So yeah, he hit her, but well, okay, fine. We'll figure it out.
Right.
So I don't say anything. We get to the top of all these stairs. And I said, well, and he's like, could you just have done one day? One whole day. He's like, no, I know she was wrong. But I'm just telling you, when you get home, here's what you need to do. Don't say anything. Let me talk.
Yep, just sit there.
Just sit there and whatever she says, just say, yes, ma'am, I know. Yep. I don't want to hear you. Because if you say anything else, you're on your own.
Yeah.
So it's one of those times when you get home, but you don't want to get out of the car. You're like, are we here? Are we here yet? And you're like, get out of the car.
You're like,
are we going in? Walk in and she's like, instead of fussing, you get the silence. You get to like, I'm not even going to talk to you right now. And that's worse than anything when you're a kid. It's like, just go ahead, yell at me. Go ahead and say whatever. Don't make me wait.
Yeah.
So no, sit down at the table, start eating dinner early because I'm home from school early with my new uniform on. And finally she's like, so what's this stuff about you hitting the teacher? And I'm like, yes, ma'am.
That's all you can say.
Because that's what he told me to say. Yeah. And she's like, answer my question. I was like, yes, ma'am. She's like, boy, quit playing with me. This is serious. I'm like, she hit me with a stick. And I don't know where she got that idea, but I don't know what kind of people these are. And I don't know what kind of God they pray to, but I wasn't there for that. And she just looked at me and my grandfather started. He said, yeah, he said the nun said she hit his hand with the ruler because he was reading ahead in the book. She said, that was it? That's what you got hit for? I said, yeah,
Yep.
for reading ahead because she didn't want me to turn the page, so she wanted me to turn the page. I'm like, I don't know. These other kids that, they read and they all look scared to death. I'm like, hey, how y'all doing? And they're like, so he's like, so what are we going to do? I don't know. Whatever you want. She's like, do you want to try it again? I was like, nope.
I'm out.
Not really. So needless to say, the next day I went back to my 4th grade elementary class. It was re-enrolled. But, I give her credit because there's times she would be really off the hook. But I think, his thing was, you didn't even, I was hoping you would at least give it a shot, like maybe a week, and then say you didn't. He said, but I understand. He's like, no, they were out of line. But you have to, if you don't get that, like I said, you don't get that opportunity to be heard, then you learn to say nothing.
You're right.
Which means you don't really learn anything. You don't really process it. You learn how to avoid that situation. But you have to learn to have hard conversations. And when, I hear parents speak to their kids, to their teenagers like they're toddlers.
Oh, Lord, thank you for going there.
And I'm like,
how old are we?
Yeah, and I just used to shake my head. I remember we were at the mall one time. Mine was little. He's probably 3 or 4. And we were walking behind this teenager and his mom. And he's like, well, Mom, that's some bullshit. And you know what? If you ever take my card again, I will slap you and this and that. And Mario's kind of looking at me and I'm looking at him and I'm like,
like, don't even log it.
That's not our business.
Not our business.
Like, that's not our business. But don't ever. And he kept looking back at this kid. And then we got in the Gap, and then the kid and mom were in the Gap, and they were going at it. So we're like standing behind them, getting ready to pay. And I said, you know what? I cannot believe that you're buying him a bunch of sweaters and he's just talking to you like you're some dog in the street. I said, because you know what you're setting him up for? He's used to that. And when he goes out in the real world and tries that, somebody's going to knock his teeth out.
And then he's going to be
like, you
what?
don't know me. I was like, I'm not her. I was like, I'm not your mama. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to your mother. Now, I will go Medea on you in the store and wrap you around some of these racks. The way you've been talking to her, one word from you, I'm not handling it. Because you're a kid and you need to act like a kid. But I will beat you like a grown man if you want to talk like this. She's like, it's so embarrassing. I said, you don't need to be embarrassed. You need to handle it.
Handle it.
I was like,
why are you embarrassed?
You're saving him. I said, you're saving him because he's going to take a whole lot of butt whoopings. He's going to go to college somewhere and somebody's going to beat him up every weekend until he learns to shut up and have some respect.
Yeah, you cannot be like that.
And Mario just was like, he had a thing where he'd look at me and he's like, okay. And he got step two steps to the right and just stand there like, okay, I'm not in this, but let's see what happens. But I just couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, what is wrong with you? You really talking to your mother like that? And what kind of Xanax are you on walking around out here? You don't talk to your parents like that, especially in public. Now, y'all might cuss each other out at home, but in public, I was like, and I can't imagine.
No,
I remember I was like 23 years old before I said fuck in front of my grandmother. And then she was like, what is wrong with you?
No, I never cussed in front of our grandparents, ever. No.
I would cuss everybody else out. I learned how to cuss.
Exactly.
I was good at it.
Same. I've had a flavorful vocabulary for as long as I can remember, but I never cussed in front of our grandparents. Now, Pam, I can't remember when the first one flew. It flew out of anger and frustration, and it was totally justified. I mean, I might have been too young to have done it, but I did it. Like, it was the only thing that was about to check her at that moment. But yeah.
You didn't listen till you did it. You didn't listen till you did it. So then, yeah.
Oh, no, she did, because it ended up, the first time I let a cuss word fly, I called her, how did I say it? I was like, you're a raging fucking bitch. And then it ended up in my lip being busted. And it was in between church service on a Sunday. So it was kind of funny. It was real funny because we get to church and somebody said, "What happened to Erica's lip?" She said, I was like, "Oh, I didn't walk in the nut." And go ahead and tell him. Tell him I called you a raging fucking bitch. But tell him why I called you one. I was like, let's take it all the way back if we're going to tell the story. So needless to say,
Oh my
I
God.
got sent to the car because, we had to be at church early for like choir practice for her before service. So I got put in the car until time for service because I didn't know how to act. I'm not going to lie for you to try to make you look good. Tell him what you did because you was being extreme. Like, just like you're an adult and like you couldn't hold your shit together because I called you a raging fucking bitch. All right, cool.
The first time I cursed at my grandmother, I was I driving yet? No, I think I was home for the summer from private school, so I was 15. And she was going at me about something, and I don't even know what it was, but it ended up that I was going out the back door, and she called me an ungrateful bastard, and I called her an evil bitch as I went out the door, and I knew when I said it that the world was about to end, because she threw a cup and it hit the back door, and I kept walking, and then Granddaddy came out of the house, and he came down the side. He's like, "Let's go for a walk," and I was like, "Oh God, I'm done." Because I had seen him pick Benny up by the throat. And I'm like, he's going to kill me. Oh my God. So we walked around the block and he's like, "I know she's wrong. I know she runs her mouth. I know she's wrong." And I said that. He said, "But please don't ever do that again." I was like, "I know I was wrong. I'm sorry." I'm start crying. And he's like, no. He's like, "She kept pushing it, but you don't get to do that." Yep. "Yes, sir." And he said, "When you walk in the house, all I want to hear out of your mouth is, 'Yes, ma'am, I'm wrong. I'm sorry.'" I want you to
say. He was trying to save you always. He guided you.
Yeah, but he meant it, though. But he meant what he said.
He did.
And I knew from that day, if I ever pulled it again, it would all turn out different. He let me get away with that one. But I got sent to New Jersey for the summer to deal with my dad after that. I sure did.
That was your consequence.
No, I was older than that. It was before my senior year. Because when I came back, you were born. It was my senior year of high school. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's summer before. And yep, when I came back, you were born. And you peed on me when I first had But I had on my brand new sky blue Adidas outfit, my warm-up suit, and my new Snickers and my hat. And I held you, and you just peed all down the front of my jacket. I was like, okay, we're gonna be friends or hate each other.
I'm done. Well, and look, we were so friends.
But like I said, that was the second time. That was only the second time in my life that he ever had to tell me not to say something out of my mouth again. And I took him at his word.
But that's also because of the relationship you all had. He meant what he said, and he always showed that.
Yeah, because when he said something, when he would say something, everybody has gone too far. Because he would just be like, shake his head, he drink his coffee. But sometimes he'd be like, "Okay, woman, that's enough." And she'd be like, "Woman, now that's enough." And the whole house would go quiet. And I would go to my room and now when she started living with me when she was older, we let loose on each other a couple times, but only one time did it ever get that bad. And I was like, you in my house now, you can go to Shady Acres if you don't like the service around here. I'm done today. I've been busy all day. I don't have time for this. And then because she threw something at me, and I was like, "I've never thrown anything. What is wrong with you? Do I look like the help?" And that was one of those days when Ken told Mario, "Let's go outside and go swim."
Oh, but
and heard that and saw that, and went right back out the door for a while. They were like, "We could leave them alone and see if they burn the house down." It's on. He said, "I don't want to talk to either one of them right now." So,
but you know what?
But yeah.
But you know what? Think of how that relationship dynamic could have went with her and the way, because both of our grandmothers, they well, her especially, she could explode. She could go from 0 to 100 quick. But like, think of how that would have turned out
And
for
you'd be like,
you
what
had
happened?
you, right? But think of how those situations would have turned out had you not had the guidance instead of somebody just removing it from you having to deal with it. But instead, you were guided.
Oh yeah.
Think
Oh
of the
yeah.
difference that could
We're
have
like
made.
some kids, it would just go on and on all evening. Yeah, all evening. And
Mm-hmm.
how you feel about yourself when that happens. So, if the people, and I used to say, I used to tell my therapist, and she said, I don't know why you're in therapy, And I was like, because there's something wrong with me. She's like, what are you talking about? I said, there has to be something wrong with me. And she said, she started laughing. I said, I can get along everywhere I go in the world. I get
That was
along
my
with people.
family.
I get engaged, I engage with them at work and everywhere else. And they think I'm a nice person and we get along and we get things done and I don't have any stress. But around my family, it's like it's like it's a constant argument around some of them and this and that. I said, and they just don't want to be nice. And then when I'm not nice back, it's like, what's wrong? And she's like, really? I don't even see you. She's like, everyone has that potential, but I don't see you being like that. And then I got home and told Joan about the conversation. And she was like, you're not crazy. They all have mental issues and they are all crazy and they don't deal with themselves. Don't let them make you think you're crazy. The way you are in the rest of the world is how life should be.
She's right there.
When we all get together and the nonsense starts, why are you the only one? How can you be the only one responsible for it? That's what she told me. She said, there's no way you can be responsible for all this years of nonsense. She's like, you don't do anything. You didn't do anything. And one thing she said to me, she's like, and you don't have anything to be ashamed of. That's somebody else's dirt. And it popped.
Yep.
I was like, okay. Yeah, it takes two people to argue. It takes two people to have a conversation. Whatever other people's issues are and how they see me, because it never added up with how I saw myself and how I felt around other people.
It was projections, judgmental projections of things that they don't want to deal with in themselves.
And were never dealt with. And whenever we all got together, it would all bubble up.
Well, and they probably never had the space or grace to comfortably feel like they could deal with it or even begin to sift through it. But taking it out on everybody else.
Yeah, maybe not, because, well, it's probably true, because honestly, when I look at things now and I look back, at a certain point, I was treated like an adult.
Same.
I took on my adult responsibilities. I could have adult conversations. I was allowed to be an adult in the presence of my parents. But her other two kids, even in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, the conversation they had with her, they all went back to 9 years old.
Yeah, because that's how they were always dealt with. They never grew. Their relationship never grew.
Yeah.
Because she's always mommy, fix it.
Mm-hmm. And I can imagine with the energy she had at 50 when she was raising me, I can imagine what she was like at 28.
Right? So yeah.
And working, and trying to get ahead, and dealing with all this other stuff that parents deal with. I can imagine. I'm glad I wasn't there.
But that's a prime example of a relationship not properly evolving, because when your children are young, like you said, you would see them have conversations and revert back to like 9 years old. You dealing with man babies is what I call them. And, I deal with them. Arrested development for sure. But at some point, that guidance of a 9-year-old and a parent's mindset has to start evolving, because then they become young adults. And then that guidance, it doesn't necessarily change, but it's not as overbearing. It's got to grow and give them space to be an adult. And then at some point, you do become your friend's child. You're able to sit, and if you guys like to partake in alcoholic beverages, can do that. But 16 to 18, that's not it. They're not there. You're literally dumbing yourself down because you're trying to feel cool. Go hang out with your friends. Go hang out with people your own age, parents. Okay, quit hanging out with your kids. They're not your friends yet at 16 and 18. You're still there to guide and mold them because they're going out in the world and have no clue about credit. Things you and I were talking about before we
but
started.
they're not grown.
Exactly. They're not grown. But you've got to have the space and grace for those relationships to evolve. And you can't evolve them faster than they're supposed to happen. Quit trying to be your kid's friend before it's time.
And quit trying to make them have perfect lives. You have to allow them to make mistakes and figure it out.
There's no such thing as a perfect life. You have those things that you go through, good or bad, are what grow you. That's how you learn.
But also, if you're so guided, and you're so not guided, but if you're so cautious and so on point with worrying about how other people see you, you restrict yourself from going out into the world. You got to put yourself out there and take a few hits and understand. When I was 30 and I got fired from a job for the first time, I was so devastated. I went home, was like drunk all weekend and crying and mad. If I got fired from somewhere today, I'd be like, you don't want to open my locker for me so I can hurry up.
Same. Like when I first,
last job when they laid us off, I was like,
like deuces, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that's kind of me. Like the first time I had a big devastation in my life when I went in searching to get a loan for my business when I went to open a salon. Like that first turn down, I was devastated. I went home, I popped the Ben and Jerry's, I wrapped up in my blanket, and I was like, don't nobody bother me. I was in my bedroom and the room was all dark. And I'll never forget it. Josh would pop in, I'm like, what do you want? It was just like, I was like that for like 72 hours. I spent the entire weekend. I missed all kinds of shit. Now they was like pandemic, lockdown. Yes, vacation. Like it's amazing the growth that happened. But devastation had to happen in my life for me to be able to be there.
And it wasn't that devastating. It was just devastating to you, and you realize that the whole world really didn't revolve around what you wanted and when you wanted it, and it would be okay if it didn't, because you just had to keep going.
And you know what?
You had to persevere and find your way through it, and to keep on till it works.
And it usually, in the end, showed itself to be the best thing that could have happened, because it wasn't necessary, or it would have been a worse situation had I got what I thought I wanted or needed. So, and I think all of us humans can actually say that if we sit down and take an honest look at things that we feel didn't work out. No, they worked out. Because look at where you could have had that. Because,
right.
I was mad because I didn't get that loan. But watch this. I ended up opening my business free of loans, free of debt, and then got mauled by a dog and was off work. But watch this. Everything that came in could flow the business as well as still pay my salary. I wasn't paying nobody a loan. It wasn't a big deal, but had it worked out the way I thought I needed it to work out for that building that I wanted to buy, I would have been screwed. I wouldn't have made it through. I wouldn't have.
Yeah, you'd have been in all this debt where then you wouldn't have been able to maintain. Yeah,
and I would have had to close. But instead, I was able to be open, whether I was behind the desk working or not, because I had created a business that was functioning and it was sustainable. It was sustainable before it needed to really be, and before a state would actually. They give you 5 years. I did it in a few months, thankfully. So, everything worked out the way it was supposed to. But God, it was 72 hours and I got turned down. Whew, I couldn't see that.
Well, you got to, like I said, I have a 3-day rule. And I don't know when I actually developed it or where I heard it. But it's something I used to tell people when I would counsel them. They would be like, this is the end of the world. I got to do all this. First of all, it's not the end of the world. It's bad. It's really, really bad, but you're going to be okay. And you're going to learn something through it. First of all, you're going to learn who's really on your side, because when you call these people at this moment that you always reach out to, you always make time for, and they don't have it for you because they're scared to be around you because you're upset, and they don't know that you might ask them for something, or you might need something from them. Like maybe it's just a ride, or maybe you need them to pick up your kids for you, while you go handle something. If they can't do those things for you now, don't continue those relationships. What you learn is these aren't people who are really, really into your life the way you're into theirs. So it's not a level playing field. And if you don't have people who come around you in those times when you need somebody the most, you're better off on your own. until you meet those types of people.
Yep. You're right.
You know.
You are so right there. You know what? I love our chats. They are always just so down to earth and real.
Yeah, but you also, I think when, one of the things about the pandemic that I look at people and I look at how they're behaving right now, and I go, what did you do for the last year? Except what? Masturbate and watch Netflix?
I'm done.
Because you haven't grown any since you went in. And this was a perfect time for most people to be like, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
This sucks, but you know what? Yeah, we're all here in the house. What do I want to do? What do maybe I read some books I always wanted to read. I've got time to do any of this. I can exercise. I don't have to go out of the house all day. I can work on me. What is it that I've not looked at in my life that could be different if I just gave it a little time? A lot of people did that.
Yes,
and those people are now
did.
walking around like, yeah, I'm not even going to entertain that. I'm just going to keep walking.
Exactly.
But then a lot of people are like, they're like, you went away for the weekend and left the dog in his kennel cage and came back and opened it and wonder why he's like running around the house like a banshee, because he's so glad he's free. It's
you know what? I call those.
And if you were in a big house and you have a house and you were in a house and been able to sit in your backyard and stuff over the pandemic, you should be so grateful.
Yep, we have so many who are not.
That you were able to be comfortable and you were able to cook whatever you wanted, to do these things that before you didn't have time to do, and you never considered that it was possible to have that kind of time, because what you believed was in the hamster wheel, that if you stepped off the hamster wheel for a minute, some other hamster would get on and you just wouldn't be able to ride again.
Yep, they convinced people of that, and it's sad. It's past time. Count your blessings and not your dollars, because dollars don't equal blessings. Dollars equal a false sense of stability.
A lot of wealthy, unhappy people. When we go through bad times, you have to give yourself some grace.
You do.
When people go through rehab, one of the hardest things is building that resilience of self-esteem so that when you go back out and you're around your family and they want to remind you of something you did 3 years ago, that instead of getting upset, instead of arguing with them, you can go, yeah, I did a lot of screwed up things and I feel really bad about them, but I don't feel bad about me. And you don't get to bring that back to me. I'm the one who suffered through it. Did I hurt some people? Yes. But I'm the one who had to do all that and pull my own self back up and do the work.
Amen.
So I'm here. And I'm not talking about then, because that's somebody else. I'm in my life right now, and you don't get to use that to tear down what I'm building right now, because this is about me. And if I know that it was about me before, I probably wouldn't have been in that situation. So I've gone through this, and it's been something that allowed me to learn about myself, because we all have strengths and weaknesses.
Yes, we do.
And we are all subject to our demons. I used to say, girl, I don't know why they do that. Girl, you raised 3 children. All 3 of us have some form of addiction. Mine is just legal at the time, because I'm gonna go shop. I'm gonna go buy me 5 of the same shirt that I like and have a drink and forget about y'all. Right. So I can get away with mine. The other 2, not so much. Yeah. So that causes other problems. But the truth was, to a degree, all 3 of us had some coping mechanisms that we needed to learn on our own. And I learned mine because I kept putting myself out there in the world, even in junior high, to go away to private school and be on my own, pretty much. Do my own. So, I was always continuing to put myself out there. And one of the things I was thinking about the other day is what you lose when you go through bad things. You don't necessarily lose your self-esteem because you learn about who you are. What you lose is your courage, because you're so busy trying to make sure that all your steps are right, that you hold everything in and you don't put yourself out there as much as you need to allow yourself to take chances And you got to get back to that point to where you're like, okay, I'm done with this. You know, I have nothing to lose.
Right.
I might as well step back out there, step on stage, do what I got to do, dance my dance. And if I get applause, okay. And if I don't, y'all just didn't get it, and keep moving. You have to do it. You have to put yourself out there. You have to have some risk in your life to build confidence. And that helps build your self-esteem, because you're like, I've already stepped through the fire, stood on the coals and danced, kept going, feet not burned, made it through. And when people try to use your missteps or your bad deeds or your past, or hold you accountable for something that you did when you were 20 and you're now 35, when you hear that, what should resonate in your head is, okay, one of us has grown past that, and the other one is still there. And I'm not going to join you in that place. Yep. I'm not going to argue with it. I'm not going to discuss it with you. That is so long ago. So if we want to do that, we can go back and we can all be held accountable to what we were doing at 20, including you. Do you really want to go down that road? Because when you really think about it, nobody does. No. None of us are perfect. And we live in our bubbles, and we are whoever we think we are.
You are what you tell yourself. What you think is what you become. As above, so below.
Yeah, who you are is always entirely up to you. If you think I'm extra, get out of get in your box, because my box is not extra. My box is how I like my life.
Exactly.
And what's important to me and what's fun for me. And neither one is wrong. We used to talk about people spending money, and people, you buy the point. My brother was like, got a sports car. Why are you driving the old Taurus? Well, I'm driving the Taurus because I don't need a sports car to go around and pick up chicks and be seen.
Right.
I work hard. And when I come home, I want a sofa. I want a comfortable chair. I want something nice. I want plates. I don't want to eat out paper plates. I don't want to sit on crates. I don't want to act like I'm still in college, because I'm not.
Right.
I want comfort when I go home. So that's what's more important to me. And you see it all the time in families. People are like, well, so-and-so, they got money. They're doing this and that. Well, they're always at home. You got money too, but you're buying jet skis and going to the lake and doing all this other stuff. So they went to Europe, but you're at the lake, and it's a choice.
Exactly.
And neither one is wrong. You did what you want to do. They did what they want to do. And what they did wasn't about you.
It was about what fulfilled them.
And you didn't want to go, because if you wanted to go, you could have gone too. But everybody makes choices on what's important to them and how they want to live their life.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, Tim, I appreciate yet another beautiful chat with you. And like I said, this week was removing struggle, and it does no good. Let's guide people through them. Tim, good luck with everything that's going on.
Well, let me give you to my takeaways.
All right, give me your takeaways for this week.
Well, my takeaways are, when anybody comes at you about your past or anything negative about you, what is their intention? Are they just, really trying to be helpful and they don't know the right way to do it? Or are they trying to really hit you sideways? So from there, you know how to deal with them. Set your boundaries and what you're willing to participate in, not what you're willing to tolerate. What you're willing to participate in and what you're not. And hold yourself to those boundaries. And if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they don't. And remember that confidence comes from giving yourself grace, but also setting yourself up to get out there and try new things. Because every time you get a win, you feel better about you. But you can't win if you don't play.
I like it. That is fact. All right, guys, you heard it.
And trust me. All right. Good to talk to you. Love you.
You too. I love you too. Get those papers done so that you can have a phenomenal weekend.
Yes, I am.
I can't wait. I can't wait till next time. All right. I love you, Unc.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I hope you guys enjoyed today's sit down. And, well, I didn't do any takeaways. You know why? That last screen you read, along with these up on your screen now, are my takeaways. They are the biggest keys that we hold in life. The keys to ourself. Science is a beautiful and fun thing to learn, but God, what an even more beautiful learning experience when you learn the art of one's self. Thank you again, like I said, for hanging out. Check out the pages above, links for them. You can find them in the description, along with links to my personal Facebook and Tim's. And like I said before, if there's something out there you would like a different perspective on, doesn't matter the topic, hit me up, send me an email, and Tim and I will sit down and rap about it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe and click that bell so that you never miss new uploads, because who knows when they'll drop. And don't remember, you hold the key to your release. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend.